Hello fellow Tarnished, I hope you're doing well. Now everyone is talking about the most powerful weapons and the most overpowered setups. I would like to show you 5 hidden champions and very useful Ashes of War that you can use on your favorite weapons. Let's cover very briefly some basic mechanics. Every weapon you can upgrade with normal smithing stones will show a field like this in your menu, unlike the weapons with a fixed ability. Now you can find and collect various Ashes of War, aka skills in the world, and put them on your weapon. But even better, you can manipulate their scaling. You have 2 types of Ashes, the ones with no predefined elemental attributes and those who come with a certain element like fire, frost and so on. You also have to collect the various wet blades in the game. With these you can alter the scaling of the Ashes of War and even change the element to some degree. If you would like a more detailed guide about these mechanics and which wet blades you need for your build and at which point in the game you can get your greedy hands on them, let me know in the comments. But let's show you some incredible good Ashes of War and how to use them. Number 1. Phantom Slash or Sword Dance. Phantom Slash is one of my personal favorite Ashes of War in the game and one of the best combat skills. You can initiate it from a safe distance. It is a perfect gap closer, the initial strike interrupts normal enemies, it hits like a truck, it is super cheap and it has a special follow-up that you can trigger with an additional input, which gives you 2 more strikes without further movement. It works on halberds, normal spears and twin blades. And here you have some awesome weapon choices, like the Cahmpions harpoon, which comes already with magic damage and is perfect for intelligence builds, or the Guardian sword spear, which has an excellent weight to damage ratio. And if you don't give it an elemental scaling, you can put a weapon enchantment on it for even more damage. Now there are some very scary enemies where you might not want to use it, but overall this is a cool, useful and heavy hitting ability. If you don't like the aforementioned weapons, then Sword Dance would be your best choice as an alternative. It does not have the same range closing ability, but that means you can use it for example as a guard counter. Also, the follow-up only has 1 strike instead of 2 and it deals roughly 10% less overall damage if all hits connect. But besides the lower coolness factor, it gives you similar results. Number 2. HOARFROST Stomp. Yes, the good old HOARFROST Stomp. Don't think they nerfed it to the ground. Especially for intelligence builds, this is still an awesome ability. Good damage, very cheap and a good range. Excellent for destroying groups of trash mobs, especially in enclosed environments. Debuffing enemies or just spamming endlessly on bosses. Yes, that still works, although it is not as overpowered as before. Its effectiveness in terms of damage is a little bit limited to intelligence builds, but you can put it on every weapon type. Pro tip: put this skill on the Serpent Guard's curved sword. Clear groups of smaller mobs with it and refill your health bar in no time. Number 3. Bloodhound Step. Now don't think this is the same as Quick Step, because it is Quick Step on steroids. If you suck at dodging, like myself, this thing is for you. Traverse some rot, fire or poison pools in an elegant and efficient manner, then Bloodhound Step has your back. But there's a lot more to it than just to avoid of being stuck in some knee-deep cesspools. When you are playing as a caster, then you should consider using a super light dagger with Bloodhound Step in your right hand and cast with your offhand. It will make your life a lot easier, because you can become the super annoying shadow caster you always wanted to be. Cast, blink away, and so on. You will kill your enemies not only with your spells, but also from lethal dizziness while they try to keep up with your movements. The perfect tool for every panic caster that values the avoidance of damage just as much as dealing damage. Number 4. Prayerful Strike. Do you still use flasks to heal? Why do so, when you can have a backup weapon that does the job for you? Sometimes I think this skill is only never mentioned in the various overpowered videos just because of its naming. Healing Strike is the name of the game here, and no, you don't need a faith build to make this work. You can change to quality, keen or strength scaling and it still heals you. You can get a very nice setup with the Morning Star that also has bleed built up and the Ash quite early in the game. The cast itself might leave you a bit open, but you get increased poise, so once it's started, you will finish it. And any damage you take during the animation is usually widely outperformed by the healing you receive. Roaming a dungeon and want to save up your precious flasks for the boss fight? Just smash some skulls with this setup and you are good to go. And if you stick with the initial holy damage, you become a one-hit wonder to any undead. Number 5. Flame of the Redmanes. Now to my undisputed number 1. Flame of the I break your poise Redmanes. What if I told you you can obtain a skill before killing a single enemy in this game that is so good that you can clear the whole game with it? After you obtain Torrent, you can beeline directly to this easy to reach region in Caelid and kill the invisible scarab. Like HOARFROST Stomp, it can be attached to nearly every weapon. So if you don't like the initial strength scaling, you can switch to your weapon's default scaling. Yes, you lose the fire damage, but you can now increase the damage through consumables and spells. And as soon as you have the Iron Wetblade and the Red Hot Wetblade, which you can get pretty early in the game, you have all the scaling options that you need. This skill is fast, has a decent range and a pretty wide arc, is cost efficient and spammable, and breaks enemy poise faster than a warrior can say intelligence. Standard enemy poise will break at the first cast, stronger enemies after 2, and most bosses will kneel to you after 3 hits. There are only very few enemies and bosses in this game that will resist more than that. And opposite to the mighty HOARFROST Stomp, you can cast it upwards and decimate these pesky blade and flame wielding birds with it. And the skill itself has a very good base damage, especially when you stick to the fire damage. Add Alexander's Shard, the Fire Scorpion Charm, the Fire Damage Flask, and buff yourself with Golden Wow and even Flame Grant Me Strength. This thing melts even big targets and bosses. The only negatives are that it sometimes passes over very small targets and without targeting the enemy it is useless. But these are just minor disadvantages in my eyes. If you could choose just one skill in this game, you should take this one, and it would reliably kill your first trash mob, the Elden Beast, and nearly everything in between. And now I show you some footage of my honorable mention, the White Shadow Lure. Of course, there are a bunch of other skills that are cool and useful too, and maybe even better for your personal playstyle. I think the Ashes of War are a very good concept to give us players a lot of freedom how to succeed in this game. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a comment or even subscribe and hit that like button. I will bring you more Elden Ring content very soon. If you have any special topic you would like me to make a video about, let me know down below. Until next time, and don't forget to take good care of yourself.